you have done just so many different kinds of things in your ministry. And I know you've worked at different levels of the church, in the conference level, and you've been involved in all sorts of things, I know, in the diaconal community, internationally. I wonder if you have something that you might identify as being the most meaningful work that you've done.
So when I was working at First United Church, I think the issue of housing became an awareness for me every single day. Social welfare was not, it didn't cover housing and it didn't cover food, so you made a choice. And most of the houses, homes that people, well, they weren't homes, they were just places to lay your head, really, were not really good places to live and not good places to raise children. And I watched as children were apprehended, and I would talk with some of the frontline workers, the FAWs, and the social workers about what's going on here. And I met a lot of social workers who were people who did child apprehension. And that was hard on their hearts. And then the government had a program at one point to support families, and then they removed that program. I became aware of a program in the States where it was called Housing First. And Housing First has been around for a long time, might have different kinds of names over the years. And I argued made the case at First United Church that what we needed to do was build housing. So John Kishore and I went to Presbytery, and we made a motion, John moved, I seconded, that we would have First United Church become a place for housing. We'd tear it down, we'd have the mission part of the church, and then the rest of it would be housing. And this was a motion. And it passed. We were thrilled. To make that happen was going to be a little bit more difficult, but we did form First United Church Housing Society. I became the president of the First United Church Housing Society, and our first project was on Jackson and Hastings. And we got a phone call from Mike Karpoff, who said, hey, we're going to write down this property and you guys build housing. And that's what we did. That was our first project. And then we built, that was called Bill Hennessy Place. And then the next piece of housing was called Jenny Pentland Place. And then there was a third project, I think it was in Mount Pleasant. And by that time, I'd been involved with the Housing Society. I'd moved on from First United Church, and I was taking a break from all of that. But getting people, we got criticized. I remember getting a phone call and someone said, why are you building a bathroom? Why can't people share bathrooms? It would be less expensive. And they could all share kitchens. And I said, everybody has a right. Ice cream, right? Everybody has a right to a bathroom, their own private bathroom. And everybody has a right to a stove where they can cook their own food. This gives people dignity, and this is what we're about. People having a safe place where they can go home and know that they're safe, can make the food that they like, and have their own bathroom where they can whatever. It just made sense to me. So if you can get people into safe housing, then if there are mental health issues, which I became aware of, and again, the drug issues, not like it is now on the Van County side, but at that point. First United Church became the first needle exchange, not a well-known fact, but we decided we would have available to people on the street. We would have clean needles, and they could give us the old needles. We would have condoms, and we would also have women's feminine hygiene products, because those were expensive items and they had no other place to get them. So our administrative people who were on the front desk would have to give out the clean needles, give out the condoms and the feminine hygiene products. I was very proud of that. Proud that we were able to get housing, proud that our staff was able to do the needle exchange. And we were very aware of what was happening with AIDS. We knew that sex trade workers were going to, they would be paid more money if they didn't require a condom. So we were having to do a lot of education in that area about AIDS and why condoms were necessary. Did I think that I'd be talking about condoms and needle exchange when I took my vows at a maritime conference to be deaconess? No, that wasn't in the realm of my experience. What I've learned is that we need to understand the context that we're in and find ways to respond to that. So I did a lot of work in training around mental health, and we brought in people into the community to train us around de-escalating conflict and mental health and taking care of ourselves in the midst of all this chaos that we were living. And that wasn't just for First United Church, that was for everybody in the community. All the workers that were working at places like the Downtown East Side Residents Association and at St. James and the Gospel Mission. And I was also part of founding a bank for the community people in the Downtown East Side. So we had a bank that was just specifically for the residents of the Downtown East Side and the other staff, people who lived in the Downtown East Side, but catered, the people were trained on how to respond to the people who lived on the margins of our society. And I asked the bank manager, Martin Draper, one time, I said, so tell me about the loans. Who pays the loans back? And he said, you're going to love this. The people that paid their loans back were the people who received social assistance. They came in every month to make sure they paid a little bit on their loan every month. The people that didn't were the FAWs and financial aid workers and the social workers. They were more negligent on loan repayment than the people who lived on social assistance. I always thought that was an interesting little fact.